Most people think that they can't achieve success because they have too many problems in their life. That's the biggest myth on the planet. The day everything falls apart for you, the day you have your biggest disaster, the day that you're at your lowest, that's not the end. That's the day that your success begins. The failures in your life, that is actually what creates success. It doesn't end it, it creates it. One of the biggest misconceptions that people have is that you have to learn to overcome adversity if you want to become successful. Well, that's not true. Successful people don't overcome adversity because successful people understand there's no such thing as adversity. If you look at people that aren't very successful, they fall into two categories. Either one, they just think that successful people handle problems better than they do, overcome adversity better than they do, deal with challenges better than they do. They're mentally tough and all these other things, and they deal with challenges better. They overcome problems better. That's the first group. The second group of people that are not successful think that successful people simply don't have any challenges. They think successful people's road is smooth as silk, and that all the doors are opened, all the lines are greased, and everything is just working perfectly, and there's never any problems they have to face, there's never any obstacles they have to overcome. And neither one are really true, because successful people deal with major, you can call it adversity, or major problems, or major failures. Every single successful person. Successful people have more problems than you'll ever have. If you take the definition of success as somebody, let's say, who has a net worth of $10 million or more, you look at every single one had more problems than the average person. They had more setbacks, more adversity, filed bankruptcy, lawsuits, plants burned down, regulations change, businesses challenge, all these things that the average person could never in a million years deal with. So successful people are not people without problems. What successful people do is they're at cause over the circumstances. They are at cause over the conditions that life presents and what happens. They find and know that this disaster or this failure in it, out of which they can create and find that gold, which will take them to the next level. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple by the board. He was kicked out. The founder of Apple was fired. But he always says it was that firing and him starting next, because he said, I know technology better than the guys at Apple. I'm the genius. And it was because of that firing that he started next. And in next, he developed the technology that when he went back to Apple, he brought back to Apple. And we would not have the Apple company today if Steve Jobs wasn't fired. If he wasn't fired, Apple would not be what it is today. You look at Airbnb, you look at Uber, Lyft, different companies that went through that COVID, lost 80% of their business, but they didn't fold. The owners, the executives, the people in charge looked at that differently. They said, this is an opportunity for us to get leaner, cut costs, revamp our business model, and come out stronger than ever before, which they all did. Wang, the founder of NVIDIA, one of the most profitable and highest ranking companies in terms of net worth of all time. He said it was the challenges, products that didn't work, cash flow problems, not being able to make payroll. It was out of these challenges and disasters that forced him to focus on his core business, which was the catalyst to take him to where he is today. J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She was living out of her car. She was depressed. She was divorced. She had no money. She didn't know what to do. She said the situation she was in, the disaster of her life was a complete wreck. It was when she was at the bottom, that's when she made the decision, I'm going to turn my life around. Success is really a decision away. Everything a person knows at the top, they've learned at the bottom. I remember Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires. People think fires are bad. No, fires are nature's way of clearing out all of the rubble, all of the underbrush. That's been building up for hundreds of years. It has to be cleared out. A forest fire burns that all off, and seeds germinate, which can only germinate under the intense heat of a forest fire. So a forest fire is not bad. Forest fire is a blessing. You've heard the phrase in every adversity is the seed of a greater benefit. Successful people don't look at obstacles or challenges or disasters or failures or setbacks or adversity as something negative. What they do is they look at it as a blessing, as an opportunity, because anytime the universe presents to us an obstacle or a challenge or a major situation that you could classify as a disaster, a failure, a setback, some adversity, it's not giving us something that's bad. It's actually giving us something that's good. The universe doesn't do things to us, it does things for us. So in every quote, adversity is the seed of a greater benefit. And when you have a challenge in your life or some adversity or setback or obstacle or whatever you want to call it, successful people just look at it as an opportunity for them to find a treasure of gold. They look at it completely different. If the average person dealt with the things that I dealt with, they'd blow their brains out. People always come up to me, Kevin, you faced so much adversity in your life. How did you overcome that adversity? I said, well, first off, I don't know how to overcome adversity because I've been very lucky. I haven't had any adversity in my life. They go, what are you talking about? You've experienced tremendous disasters. Your life fell apart several times. No, I've never experienced a disaster and my life never fell apart. And they go, well, that's not true. You lost everything. Your business was taken away from you. I go, yeah, that was a change in conditions. I always say it's a change in condition. I had a partner in the memory training business. I was launching the American Memory Institute, taught live seminars all over the world. Me and my partner had a disagreement. We decided to part ways. In that parting, I agreed not to compete with him doing live memory seminars. And people would say, you lost your business, you lost your livelihood, your life fell apart. No, it didn't. That's when I bumped into a guy named Bobby Singer at the Carnegie Deli in New York City. And he said, what do you do? I said, well, I used to be in the memory training business, teaching memory seminars. He goes, I want to put you on TV infomercials. You can make a fortune doing that. We went on television.
The information is in your memory.
And then we went on to sell $450 million worth of memory training courses on television. Out of the breakup, out of being stopped from doing live seminars, the disaster, my life fell apart, I didn't look at, came $450 million in sales, and I became the infomercial king and went on to generate billions and billions and billions of dollars on TV around the world. I'll tell you another story. I got sued by the Federal Trade Commission because I was selling a product called coral calcium, which is a form of calcium we imported from Okinawa, Japan. The government said, you need to stop this show. You're making unsubstantiated claims. I gave them all the substantiation. I said, let's go to court. They said, why don't we just settle the case? Perfect. And I said, I want to settle it with no finding of wrongdoing because I did nothing wrong. They said, perfect. So we're going to settle the case. And in the settlement, they said, we need a headline. This is how the government works, by the way. And I said, I'll tell you what if I am banned from infomercials for life? Is that your headline? They go, yes, that's a great headline. I go, good, ban me from infomercials for life, except for informational publications and anything that's protected by the First Amendment. So they signed it, made their big headline. And now I'm banned from TV infomercials. Everyone says, Kevin, this is a disaster. I says, well, let's think about it. I'm allowed to do informational publications or things that are protected by the First Amendment. That means books. I said, I should write a book to expose them. I should write a book. I should write a book about, how bad the federal government is and the FTC and how they're basically working with the drug companies to not tell people about the truth about ways they can prevent and cure disease without drugs and surgery. I said I should call it the natural cures that the government and the drug companies and the media don't want you to know about. And we're sitting in the room in Ojai, California. And I thought, that's kind of a long title. And I thought, how about this one? Natural cures they don't want you to know about. I said, I'm going to write that book. I published it. It became number one in the New York Times bestseller list for 26 weeks in a row. Sold an estimated 50 million plus copies around the world in many, many languages. Became the best-selling book in all of America the year it came out. Beat Harry Potter. It was number one in all of America in hardback. Out of the adversity came the greater benefit. I would have never written that book and achieved all that success and made all that money if I wasn't sued by the Federal Trade Commission and sign that disaster as settlement. There's a big distinction between how rich people, wealthy people, successful people deal with problems versus the average guy. And there's a huge distinction, huge. And this is really probably the number one difference between these two groups. They can face the exact same thing, but one reacts to it, one responds to it. So do you react to situations or do you respond? Do you go in defensive mode or do you go into attack mode? Somebody who's just not as successful as they want to be, they're always going into defensive mode, where the other person is going to attack mode. When he gets attacked, when a problem comes up to him, when some major adversity or failure or setback, he goes into attack mode. He's going right after it. He's running toward the problem, not away from the problem, trying to protect. There's a word, confront. Unsuccessful people have an inability or a less of an ability to confront a problem. They're always trying to put their head in the sand, not face it, not confront it fully. A successful person, when there's a challenge or a setback or a disaster, that guy wants to know every little detail of what's going on. He's confronting it 100%, and he's focusing on getting all of the details because he knows, I can overcome this. I am going to handle it. And he also has that other element, which is, I'm going to get something better out of it. I've been given a gift. Something better is coming out. And this is a decision. It's really a mindset. It's all mindset. It's not technique. It's all mindset of how you look at the challenge or the problem. And then what you do. Do you attack it? And are you looking for getting something better out of it? Or are you in defensive mode? We see this with athletes. In the World Cup, for example, the team is winning by a goal. So now they just want to hold on to their lead. And they're playing not to lose. The other team has the setback. They're down a goal. Guess what they're doing? We are going to attack. We need the score. And guess what invariably happens? The team that's down wins the game because they're attacking. Vince Lombardi said it best. Show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. Winners hate losing. So they attack. They don't play victim. They don't go into defense mode. They don't bury their head in the sand. They don't cry. They attack. They get pissed off. They get mad. That's the programming of a successful person. They look at an obstacle and they go, you don't understand. You can build that wall. I'm going right through it. It's the possibility thinker's creed. When faced with a mountain, I will not quit. I will go over it. I'll go around it. I'll dig a tunnel through it, or I'll stay and turn the mountain into a gold mine. There's an axiom you can put in your brain, which is, if it is to be, it's up to me. And that's really what it comes down to. Success is a decision away. When anybody is dealing with a problem, a failure, a disaster, a setback, a major challenge that they're dealing with, which is causing them a lot of emotional pain or maybe financial pain, anything like that, what do? You have a habit of reacting instead of responding. That's your habit. You have a habit of acting like a victim. You have a habit of not wanting to confront it and look at it and hide. That's your habit. So the first thing is you have to know that's your habit. You have to change that habit. You don't eliminate habits. You replace them with something else. So you have to, be aware that that's going to be your habit. That's number one. And number two, you have to, with deliberate intent, start to replace it with a different habit. So what you do is you say, number one, remember this phrase. Did you ever hear this phrase? Someday we'll look back at this and laugh. Well, if that's true, laugh now. Why wait? So the first thing you do is when the disaster hits, laugh. Because you know, someday I'm going to look back at this and laugh. A good thing that people can do when they're facing a big challenge is actually state out loud, someday I'll look back at this and laugh. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to laugh now. And actually physically laugh. By doing that, You break up all the stress and tension in your body. You release powerful chemicals in the body called endorphins, which change the brain chemistry and change the way you feel. Therefore, you can look at it differently. That's critical. Unless you break that stress up and anxiety and remove some of that contracted energy, that fear, you're going to be stuck. Make the decision. Confront it and attack it. Don't run away from it. There's an old saying, and it's, I believe, a Chinese proverb, and it says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. All success really comes out of what most people call adversity, or problems, or challenges, or failures. In every adversity is the seed of a greater benefit. Successful people are not affected by the environment. What people say, what people do, what happens, what doesn't happen, setbacks, failures, they're not affected by it. Successful people are a cause over them. That is the critical, magical difference. It's not overcoming adversity. It's first looking at that bad thing, that horrible thing in your life, and look at it as a gift. The Buddha said it very well. He said, everyone will experience pain, but suffering is an option. And if you look at adversity or a problem in your life, you may experience pain because it's painful, but you don't have to suffer. Think about it this way. People move tons of dirt just to get a few ounces of gold. I heard this phrase a long time ago, but I didn't visualize it. But then I saw these big, huge, massive bulldozers picking up huge amounts of dirt, putting it through these wash machines. And I saw them move tons and tons and tons and tons. And then the guy has this little bottle and he goes, what a great day. Look at the gold we got. And I'm like, he moved tons of dirt just to get a few little ounces of gold. But they're not looking for the dirt. They're focused on looking for the gold. Without setbacks, there's no breakthroughs. Without pain, there's no growth. Without disasters in your life, really there can be no success. The day everything falls apart, that's the day that your success begins.
My name is Peter Sage. So I spent 35 years in personal growth and read just about every book on the subject. And if I was to put one book ahead of everything else in terms of what it's done for me, the information on how it's changed my life, it would have to be Your Wish is Your Command. And there's not just one area. It's not just finances or relationships or inner peace. It's everything in one amazing book. I can't say anymore. You read what's in this book and you make the kind of gains that I've made, you are going to wish that your command happened sooner.